Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us here today again on the virtual reading series. This is our last episode for March 2023, celebrating National Reading Month. But I also am excited to have you all here because I get to do this last literacy resource highlight, and I get to do this one for the first time. So our past 3 literacy resource highlights are some that you all have been familiar with. But this week, we're going to talk about a new one that's just been developed here recently. And it's called This Woman's Bookshelf. And so, of course, it is my bookshelf, and it's my opportunity to share information with you all that I find important about literacy. So if you go to the website that's on the screen, which I will also put in the Facebook comments, you'll get to see all the videos from prior virtual reading series. So we've had the reading series in 2021, 2022, and now in 2023. And so it'll provide some videos on the website, but it'll also link you over to YouTube where you can find the full playlist of videos for all 3 series that we've had. You'll find the reading list. So we've done a summer reading list, we've done a winter reading list. Both of those are on the website, and they will link you also to a Google document. So if you have trouble seeing the image with the list on it, you can go to the Google document to find the information about the author and the name of the book. For books that are in Spanish and English, it'll also note what the English title is and what the Spanish title is so that you can find those easily. And there's also some literacy resources on the website. And so those resources are specific to Alamance County because, of course, that's where I'm from. But when you look at those literacy resources, if you Google, you can find something similar in most states and or in most counties. So I encourage you to still check it out and to kind of figure out what you have in your county that may be similar. If you can't find anything that speaks to you in the literacy resource highlights, I encourage you to reach out to your local public libraries and or to your school libraries. A lot of times they have resources on hand that will help you get that information. And so now that we have talked about our literacy resource highlight, I'm going to talk to you about our author for today, who is new to our community and who you now see on your screen, Miss Pamela Spratley. So author Pamela Spratley grew up on the East Coast of the United States. She once thought of relocating one day, but decided to stay, settle in, and raise a family with her husband and 2 children. She has a passion for helping people find their purpose in life. She enjoys traveling and giving back to her community. Her educational background includes 2 undergraduate degrees in early childhood education and business management because Ms. Spratley is an overachiever, y'all. And she also has a graduate degree in education with a concentration in adult literacy. Pamela considers herself a serial entrepreneur, running 3 for-profit businesses and 1 nonprofit organization, the Enough Foundation, which we'll get to learn more about today. At the Enough Foundation, she mentors and coaches youth through business creation and elevation. She believes the secret to generational wealth is creating a personalized winning blueprint. The book, I'm Enough, focuses on affirmations, self-awareness, self-love, family, friendship, and acceptance. Through some pivotal moments in the book, the main character finds her place in the world and soon realizes that she's enough, regardless of who she's with and where she is. So without further ado, I am bringing up forth Pamela Spratley, and she's going to read I'm Enough.
Yes, hello, good morning. I am so excited to be here. So excited for the invitation and the opportunity to spread the message of this book, as well as to showcase Black authors and books that characters that resemble me. So that's a passion of mine. So I'm very happy to be here to share this book with you all. All right, so as mentioned, my book is called I'm Enough. That's the cover there. And it's a little bit a backstory behind the cover. So the character here in this book is a little bit of me. And so throughout the book, you'll see this character. And this is the only character that I gave my illustrator. And I said, I wanted it to mean a little bit more to me than just the story. And so out of all the characters, this one I did kind of have created behind my own image. So I submitted a picture. So a lot of people say that it resembles myself and my daughter. And so she loves to hear that as well. All right, so here we go. I'm going to show a little bit and then I'm going to turn it. I don't have it memorized. I may can read it. Today I looked in the mirror and noticed the freckles on my nose. I noticed the awkward bend in one of my toes. And I cannot ignore my large eyes that glow. So when I wrote this page, it was funny because when I came up with the book and how I was going to craft it, I was standing in the mirror. And I noticed my differences right away. And that's something that I kind of dealt with growing up because I lived in a household where no one looked like me. I was different. I looked different. I knew I was different. I didn't talk about it much. I held my feelings inside, but they were there. And I think for the Black and Brown communities, that's often right. We come in so many different shades, and it's beautiful. But it is the reality that we do, and so that was something that was prevalent for me to recognize that my differences. So the character here, she's noticing all of her differences that she sees. And so I encourage you to stand in front of the mirror and notice these differences. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, just notice though what makes you different. I'm left-handed while everyone here is not. I enjoy warm baths while my mom likes hers hot. So what holds true on this page is that I'm actually left-handed. And growing up in a family of five, I grew up in a blended household, and I was the only left-handed person until my parents, my mom and my stepfather married, and then I got a stepsister who also became left-handed. And so if we've got any lefties out there, left-handed people unite, because growing up in the 80s, it was rough. There were some challenges, and from just sitting at the dinner table where we had to strategically sit so the elbows weren't bumping. So hopefully some folks out there can connect with me there. But that was a running joke for me and my sister later on in life, that that made us special. And I mean, you love it when honestly, I like it when something stands out because I feel special. So that was one thing that we can hold over everybody else in our family, that we were the lefties. So that's what's part of me in this page. So I have curly hair while my sister's is long and straight. These differences don't surprise me though, since I'm adopted, special, and great. So let's talk about that. So that's something, page 3, let's just jump right in. So not only was this character, noticing her differences as far as her complexion, her freckles, the size of her eyes, all these different things. But now we are throwing another component to her differentness, is her being adopted. It's a word, I'm sure, a lot of times we talk about adoption for children, they think about puppies and kittens and things like that. But the reality is, people and kids, they also go through that world of adoption. And so this character knows at a young age that she was adopted. She knows why she looks different from most folks. But again, just because you look different doesn't mean that you're adopted, right? Because unless you are an identical twin, there are always going to be differences in your household. And so she didn't dwell on that. Again, she accepts that as being special, and one of her, she's self-aware. And so that's what I like to think about when I think about this book. She obviously enjoys her time that she spends with her sister. And she's not upset that she didn't have the same hair as her sister. She acknowledges it because she says, I'm great. So then she does acknowledge that she's also adopted. And we'll talk a little bit more about that throughout the book. My sister's skin is a shade close to mocha. I'd say my brother's is more of golden, but mine is maybe a hint of cinnamon. So there she is. There's another sibling that we've introduced into the book. All of them have different complexions, but again, did not stop anything. She's aware, she's loving it. All of them have different complexions, but guess what? They're loving on one another. They're playing games, they're eating popcorn. Same thing that happens in families where folks aren't adopted, right? So when you think about people who don't really know a lot about or really talk about conversations of people that are adopted, and they wonder perhaps how their lives were different. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. They're doing things that typical families do, right? They play games outside, they eat popcorn, they watch movies. It's just that I'm adopted, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm doing pretty good reading backwards. My parents are tall. Well, I feel like I'm barely growing at all. I love that all these differences I point out make me uniquely me. So again, what this character has done is that she's compared herself to everyone in her household. And she's shown you the differences, right? She's shown you what stands out for her freckles, her big eyes. She talks about her sister's hair compared to her hairs, her brother's complexions compared to her complexions, her parents' height. So we now know, oh yeah, there are a lot of differences in this household. But she ends this statement with, I point them out to just show you how unique these are to me. And so that's what I love to talk about when I'm reading this book, is I like to encourage children to think about what makes you uniquely you. And if there is an identical twin, because I mentioned that earlier, you can still look alike and still be vastly different. Your mannerisms, your characters. Maybe you hit a baseball with your left and your twin with the right. There's no one that you're going to be completely like. So I encourage you to find differences with other folks in your household, and allow those differences to be your special characteristics. All right. So my mom calls me smart and says I'm the baby from her heart. She reminds me that our differences create our individualities. I can hear her saying, no matter what, you will always be enough. So this page is very special to me because what it shows here is that the mom acknowledges the main character's feelings, right? She didn't try to overlook or say, no, but you are like us like this, or no, but she acknowledges the differences, and she acknowledges the main character's feelings as far as, I realize that you know that you're different and how everybody else is different, but it doesn't change the love I have for you. No different than your brothers or your sisters. Who are they adopted to? I don't know. Let's keep reading to find out. So this is my very favorite page, and I actually have this page printed in my office on a plaque, because this one really touched my heart. When I read it, I kept reading over it, and it just spoke to me. So here we go. In my morning affirmations, I always tell myself I'm enough, that I'm enough. And so these are her affirmations. I'm enough to be in this family, differences and all. Enough to be fearless and great, even if I'm not tall. Enough to be a teacher, because that's the career I foresee. Enough to share my journey with all of those who care about me, because after all, I never know who I might inspire. Enough to be a world traveler, but maybe a lot later when I retire. So let's sit on that for a minute. When I'm having a discussion around my book, I usually pause and I go around the room, and I like to present a question first, because I want to make sure that my audience understands what affirmations are. Affirmations are things that we say to ourselves that encourage us, inspire us, to uplift us. And there's no right or wrong way. It's what speaks to you. And so typically in my spaces, the children that I'm speaking to, I give them an opportunity to think about that once we talk about what that definition is. And then I like for them to self-reflect. What would your affirmation be to you? And so there's the silence. And I love to see the little faces thinking, right? It's just a beautiful thing. It's like that light bulb going off. And then slowly the hands raise. And then I'll have, one of them go, my affirmation is that I can ride my bike really fast, and that's okay. And then I affirm them, right? You're right. And then one goes, my affirmation is I want to be a doctor, and I know it's going to take 8 years of, school, and yes, I affirm you. And so in that moment, so I take advantage of that moment to allow the children to just be in that moment. And I give them the opportunity to appreciate themselves and what they affirm for themselves. So again, that page is my favorite page in this book for sure. So now as you probably can see why. Like, that's just a powerful page. It feels good. All right, so this is where this book takes a turn. And it's funny because it's not a chapter book. It's not as long as a novel. And so you would think a easy reader book wouldn't have all those elements of ups and downs, but it does. So here we go. While differences are often easy to point out, the same holds true for similarities too. I met a new friend in school who has freckles just like me, and another friend with a crooked toe. He took off his shoes for us to see. So you see what happened there? Just like that. Now we're no longer talking about differences. We're talking about similarities, and we're no longer talking about the people who we live with, who we are with all the time. We're talking about people that come and go in our lives. This is somebody in school you're with a couple, some hours of the day, but these weren't people that were raised with you. These aren't people that are related to you. They might not even live in your neighborhood, but guess what? They found a way to connect. They found similarities. So right away, there was a connection. Oh, the twists that we may see. There's a kid that rides my bus who also has eyes that glow. Oh my God. So I'm not the only one out here with these big old eyes. That's what I kind of thought about when I said it, because, and honestly, that was growing up. That was one of the things that people would usually point out when meeting me. They go, "Oh my God, you've got big, beautiful eyes." And I was a person that I didn't take compliments well. I don't know. I was so hard on myself. And so I would always downplay it. And I would say things like, I know they're very big. I'm going to hypnotize you, or they're creepy or whatever. And it wasn't until I was an adult that a coworker of mine, she stopped me and she said, "Stop." She said, "Stop what you're doing." She said, "Accept the compliment." And she noticed it. She pointed it out to me, and it wasn't clear to me. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I didn't even realize I did that," but I did. And from that point on, I accepted my differences, regardless. And then I acknowledged myself again. I affirmed myself again. But yeah, so in this book, this character has someone else who's maybe going through those same things. And so she affirms. And instead of saying big creepy, you see how I put that to it? They glow. They glow. So I love it. All right. At home, I look forward to cooking with my dad. He boasts and says he taught me everything I know. So what I love about this page is that, as I've already told you guys, she's adopted. That we know. So there will always be differences. So that's why those differences were shown in the beginning. And that's okay. But then there still can be similarities, right? Differences and similarities does not always have to equate to our genetics. You can grow up in the same family. We just spoke about that, how you grow up in the same family. You may not always look just alike, but you can have similarities with another relative who doesn't live in your house. I know folks that look more like their grandparents than they do their parents. That's just how genetics work. And so also when we talk about nature versus nurture, this is an instance where this little girl was adopted, but she's been with this family long enough to pick up characterisms of her adopted father. So this is one thing they share with each other, is that they like cooking together. So that connects them. My brother and I each play an instrument. We aspire to start our own band one day and name it Siblings Mint. Anybody ever thought about starting a band? I know for me, my thing was singing in the shower. I felt like I sounded really good in the shower. And so for in those moments, I'm like, I could sign a deal. So I think we all kind of went through that moment where we felt like we could be rock stars. We could be famous. You sung a song on the radio and you felt like you were singing just on tune with that person on the radio. So moments like that where, you know, again, you connect because we all, I think, had that moment where we're feeling like a superstar, a rock star. And I also want to point out that if you notice that this character, now that she's noticing the similarities in her household, they're different still with each individual family member. Mom and I enjoy early morning shopping on the weekends, but my sister prefers staying in bed and sleeping in. So again, her mom, they're up early, they're shopping. They look like they've been out for quite a while, lots of bags in the back. But that's their thing, right? That's their way of connecting. And so she acknowledges that. I like to ask, where do you like to shop? Things have since changed since in the last couple of years, where my favorite shopping places are online now. Like I used, like I do so much shopping. I thought I wasn't going to shop as much, but I shop more, and that's a conversation for another day. So Amazon loves me. Let's just say that. All right, here we go. So we'll save sister for last. My sister is my best friend. I learned so much from her. She's good at combing my hair and shows me love and care. She taught me how to ride my bike and how to enjoy a hike. We're similar in many ways. Sometimes it's hard to tell us apart. Often we forget that she came from mom's belly and I from mom's heart. So guess what? I just told you the story. The siblings aren't adopted. It's just her. But what I love in that page, and I'll show it again, we often forget that she came from mom's belly and I from mom's heart. That's a feel good line because adoptees go through their own challenges of acceptance and self-awareness and belonging and all of that. And so I was speaking with a family member who has an adopted child. And when I was talking to her, I said, how do you have that conversation? And that was the line that she gave me. And I put in, and I said, oh my God, that makes I love it. I love it. And so I think that that's a good way. I'm no expert and I'm not a licensed clinical psychologist. I don't want to even, to put that out there. But I felt that it was appropriate. And I love that the word that she put on there, because your heart is something near and dear to you, right? We all protect our heart. You know, that's an organ that you need, right? You need, if anything else, you need your heart. And so for the mom to say that you came from my heart, I feel like that's just as special as the belly, right? So I think that line holds a lot of weight in this book. My family is the best at reminding me that I'm enough, even when adoption conversations get a little tough. My parents love me no differently than the others. We have a house of love made up of mom, dad, sister, and a brother. So again, it's a typical family having a typical, family night, right? I know for me, growing up, we watched TV shows together. We had movie night. It was no different than what you see here. If I didn't read the book and I just showed you the page, nothing on this page would tell you that anybody's adopted, anybody's different. What you see is a family enjoying one another. And so I like to talk about how adoptees oftentimes just want to feel that sense of normalcy, right? And it doesn't have to mean you must look like me, you must talk like me, you must walk like me, you must be like me. Just allow me, to be enough, to be unique, to be different, whatever it is that I need, allow me to be that and to be enough. I like to say or pose the question, what does it take for you to feel like you're enough? What does that look like for you? Because it will be different for everybody, right? Different ages and stages of our lives will we, want to feel accepted and acknowledged and appreciated on the job. It's going to look different in school. It's going to look different on the playground, in camp, different places where you go. You just want to be enough to be there. If you are there, you deserve to be there. And it doesn't have to look like anything in particular. So I just want everybody to just kind of think about what makes you enough. And then just hold on to that. And then I also encourage you, once you kind of think about it, in the morning, in the bathroom, in front of the mirror, start those daily affirmations. And if they sound good to you, write them down so you don't forget. Because that was my problem. I was like, oh, I lost it. I'll be in the car and I'm like, oh, what did I just think? So write them down so that you can have that to refer back to. Because if it feels good to you, then you want to remember that moment. So that's my book. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that you will follow me on social media. I would love to dialogue with anybody and extend the conversation. I love to talk about what would be next. I love to have children help me write the next page. What do you think should come next in this book? What do you think happens next? So I love dialoguing on social media and Facebook. Thank you for having me.
Certainly. So we're going to start off with just a few thoughts that I had. So first of all, shout out to you for reading backwards. That's a skill. I could not. Sometimes I can read upside down, like if the paper's not facing me, but backwards, oh girl, no.
Maybe it's a left-handed thing. I don't know.
Maybe. So one of my parents was right-handed and my dad was left-handed and I am right-handed, but I'm familiar with the struggle. And then I have an aunt who's ambidextrous, but it's because back in the day, if you were left-handed, they made you learn to write right-handed.
Yes.
And so that was very interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I always wanted to be ambidextrous, but the other day at work, we were doing an exercise and they told us to write with our left hand and it was horrible. Okay. So my respect is given to y'all because I do not understand, but y'all got that. So also, we did not have this conversation. I promise y'all that Pamela did not know this about me, but I used to be a child welfare social worker. So adoption is very near and dear to my heart. I also used to be a guardian ad litem. Yes. So your book brought back fond memories for me. It also reminded me from the very first season of the virtual reading series, we had Tracy Hayes on, and she has a book called Annie's Hope, and it is about adoption. And so it reminded me of that as well. So I'm going to tag Tracy to make sure that she sees this because I love it. Shout out to all my Alamance County child welfare adoption social workers. I know some of you have retired, but you're always going to be my adoption social workers because that's the nature of our relationship. And so I appreciate so many things about your book, but I want to talk about 2 points that I feel like our community of readers has to be mindful of, which is about what you choose to focus on. And so I want to tie it to 2 different things. One, do you choose to focus on the similarities or the differences, right? And 2, do you choose to to focus on being chosen, right, from mom's heart? So you were chosen, or being abandoned. I feel like sometimes we focus on what makes us different, and sometimes we focus on who did not choose us. And when we do that, we forget to look at what makes us similar to other people and who did in fact choose us and how that choice speaks volumes, right? And so granted, it is exceptional when someone, has birthed you, they've had you in their body, all that great stuff. But when somebody chooses, right, that's a whole different compliment in and of itself. And so for anybody out there who's watching who may be a child who has been adopted, for those foster parents that are my friends on Facebook and that are working with our children who are in the foster care and adoption systems, I encourage you to talk to them about this book, to get this book, and to talk to them about what they're focusing on. And if you're focusing on the similarities and focusing on being chosen, which are more positive things, versus not being chosen or what makes them different. Because I think it's easy to get trapped thinking about those things, and that just kind of spirals into a whole other world, right? That nobody can really bring them back from necessarily. So I think that's a wonderful perspective that your book provides, that I think resonates with kids. So I needed to point those two things out. And now we're going to get into the questions that we did have prepared. But I wasn't expecting Pamela to just come in and, blow my mind a little bit and take me back to my child welfare days. So now that I've processed that, right? What led you to write this?
I'm sorry, it broke up.
What led you to write this?
So adoption is a subject that is near and dear to my heart. I was adopted as a child, and it's something that I didn't talk about for a long time. And when I say a long time, I didn't really talk about it until my adulthood. I didn't really acknowledge it out loud. I felt the differences, and they were so hard for me to just sit with in my feelings and just not like it was hard to go there. And growing up, a long time ago when I did, I was and it was kind of an unspoken rule where we just didn't talk about it, right? It was like, we know, everybody knows, but we don't talk about it. And it was almost like there was this bad stigma put on it. And then I felt like I did something bad and I didn't. And I wasn't treated bad. It was just a stigma that was put on that word. I grew up in a loving house. Like, I didn't even know I was adopted until someone told me, and I was 8 years old. And so while those differences were there, they didn't really stand out, because even my families that my connected families, households, there were still blended colors, right? Because like I said, in the Black and brown community, that's normal to have people of different shades. Your dad could be dark, your mom could be light, you could be in the middle, and a little bit, it's like a whole melting pot. And so I think for this book, it helped me just come to grips with adoption, period. It's kind of like my coming out to my community to talk about it out loud, because if I said it out loud, that mean it was real and there was no turning back from it at that point, right? It was like, okay, it's happening. We're talking about it. It's happening. Okay, here we go. And so I think starting it off, because I do want to write a autobiography later on in life, and I think this was just that first step for me to just kind of have that first conversation. But yeah, so there's a little bit of truth in that story for me.
That's beautiful, though. I like that you said it's the first step, right?
Yeah.
And that even in doing, like in helping yourself with this first step, you're also helping others and having the conversations that you weren't necessarily able to have. So I think that's beautiful. Why do you think kids may struggle with feeling like they are enough? Or how might it show up that they feel like they're not enough, maybe with how they interact with other kids or how they're performing at school, things like that?
Yeah, so adoption to the side. Like, even if this book wasn't about adoption and it was only about self-awareness, self-awareness, self-acknowledgement, acknowledging that you're not, like, let's just talk about what the media and social media does to us as the children, the adult. There's so much pressure on being and looking and acting a certain way. And so I think that we've got to pull back, because it's not slowing down, right? So society isn't slowing down with the images that it's portraying. And our children have access to this information younger and younger. As like, I joke a lot, but I say a lot of times babies come out of the womb knowing how to navigate through these tablets. Like, I got a little nephew and he won, and he can go through that tablet quicker than me and find stuff, and he's swiping it. So, they're just in this technological, era where this is what they do. And so I think there's so much pressure on what society sets or deems as the status quo, or what you should look like, And I don't like that. And so I need, my messages, accept who you are for who you like. I love one of the things that Nickelodeon does once a year. They turn off that station and it's, fuzz, and it's like, just go be like, just get away from it, just go be a kid, just go in and just have a great day. And so, like I said, adoption to this side, I think is important for us to just acknowledge who we are and appreciate who we are, accept who we are, regardless of what's going on around you. So I think that's just an important message for everybody, not just children, right? It's adults too.
I agree. I agree. And so, no, I can't let you leave without having you tell us about the Enough Foundation. So talk to us about the Enough Foundation.
Absolutely. So, the Enough Foundation. So, as you mentioned in the introductory in my bio, the Enough Foundation, we help children navigate the space of entrepreneurship. I'm a serial entrepreneur as a kid a lot, but it sounds like that has kind of stuck with me. So when I'm in rooms now, people who know me, and if they have to introduce me, even if I don't write it, they're saying it. So I was like, well, I guess it's going to be. So the Enough Foundation is one of my ventures. However, it's a passion project. So my other businesses are for profit. I know how to start a business, and I know how to, make some money, or as a kid say, I know how to run the bag up and all that. However, with the Enough Foundation, it's a 501c3 nonprofit. I'm making no money off of it. It's literally my passion coming out. And so when I put this project together, that's what I needed. I was missing something in my life, so it fulfilled that void. And so I wrote the book because it's a nonprofit. Anyone that's familiar with how nonprofits work, you got to be creative with fundraising. And so I applied for a couple grants and didn't get. And so I was like, okay, well, I don't want to stop the work that I'm doing. I don't want it to stall or, pause because I don't have funding. So that's where the book came into play. And so I said, okay, let me write a book that again spoke to me, spoke to my heart. So 100% of the proceeds of the book help fund the organization and the work that we're doing there. So the Enough Foundation, we navigate through entrepreneurship. Children can go through a program that it can be as long as 40 weeks, depending on where the child is in their idea of creating a business. And we help them reach a level of success. And so what I mean by that is, if you come into the Enough Foundation and you say, I want to start a business, but I don't know what, okay, we'll take you there. Or if someone comes in and says, hey, I've been selling paintings, but I can't get anywhere. I don't know what to do. So we talk about strategic planning, financial literacy, all of those words, but we definitely have it at a level that is easy enough we bring it down to children's level. So it's not just too wordy. So even things like the business plan, we call it your toolbox. So we have fun with it and we break it up. We've got mentors that we match our mentors with our mentees to make sure that it makes sense. We even help children open up their first business checking account, and we match dollar for dollar. Like, you serious about this? Then I'm serious about this, and let's go get this money. So we have fun with the program. And my own daughter, Tink's Healthy Kitchen, you can follow her on tinkshealthykitchen.com. She was a product of the Enough Foundation. She was like my prototype because I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. And so I got good at it. I'm like, oh my God, like this is working. And so we kept at it, and she's been doing, she's 13 now. We started when she was 9, and she's reached a level of success that I'm proud of and happy to put, my name behind. And so we are here to help children think outside of the box on what success looks like, to have that conversation, because this generation, they're ready to make money. Like, I'm sorry, they're just not with that 9 to 5, and I'm okay with that, but I want you to be successful in whatever that looks like. And so we have those conversations. Then we have the real conversations too, like, because it's not a 9 to 5, it might end up being a 9 to 9, it's a long, so if you're really thinking about doing it, I want to put it all on the table and then have that child make that decision whether or not it's right for them. And then the other part of it is creating a blueprint of generational wealth. And so what I mean by that is, a lot of times in my community, children don't have anything to look forward to as far as generational wealth. There's no pot at the end of the rainbow for them. Whereas your counterparts oftentimes there is, and I've been in spaces like that too. And I'm like, man, nothing. Grandma didn't have to leave me a house. I don't have a business way. And then I thought about it. I'm like, but would I have wanted grandma's house? Because my grandma's house wasn't the nice house. And then I'm like, and the business, would have been my passion or my parents? So then I'm like, no, I want what I want. So then we talk about that. Let's create what success looks like for you. Let's create your blueprint, right? And so we just have a good time with it in the program, and we're expanding it. Actually working on rebuilding it now. And if you follow me on social media, you would definitely see me work through the motions of building this program.
I love that. And I have to give a shout out to Crystal McLean, because you said financial literacy, and Crystal has been on the show twice. And we love Crystal. And Crystal, is my personal financial advisor. Okay. Laugh about that a lot, because much like yourself, Amazon knows me well. And Crystal knows that Amazon knows me well. But
yes. Love Crystal. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Love Crystal.
And so I think that, reading about financial literacy, seeing it for some people is significant, right? That gives them some of the tools. But you talking about like this hands-on work, I think that's beneficial as well, because not everybody's in a community or in a household where people are equipped to have those conversations. And before we got started, Pamela and I were actually talking about how we look at celebrities, right? And we look at these people that are athletes or that, are rappers or whatever, and you're not even aware of what the team is behind them, how so many of those people might be entrepreneurs, or how they have to understand business in order to function as part of that team. And so maybe rapping isn't your skill set, right? But maybe you can make beats. And so what does that look like? And how do you start your own business? And how do you shop those beats, and what those conversations look like so that you're prepared? So, I encourage you all to follow Pamela on social media and to learn more about what the Enough Foundation is doing, so that you can spread that information, not only to your kids or kids, but to other people that might find it beneficial. And of course, this leads us to our natural segue for our last question. Where can we find you on social media?
Absolutely. So right now I am on Instagram, the Enough Foundation, and then on Facebook, the Enough Foundation, the letters RDA, because I'm in Richmond, Virginia. I'm currently building my website. And so for that reason, I don't want to drop it just yet because we're in the background. But if you want to connect with me, definitely DM me on those platforms, or you can email me at the Enough Foundation, RBA, at gmail.com. And I will be starting up a newsletter so you can also keep up with what we are doing, because we are moving and grooving and we're growing fast. We just hosted, in collaboration with the Youth Business Exchange here in Richmond, Virginia, a children business expo this past Saturday. We had over 80 youth vendors participate in this event. A glorious, wonderful thing. I love, love, love it. And so we are growing all the time, adding, children to our roster. I've got another event coming up. If you follow me, you'll see me talk more about the Summer Vendor Series. So when we talk about giving children that platform to expand their business sell to the public, we don't want to stop it. And so I also created the Summer Vendor Series, where we will host sessions, one in June, one in July, and one in August, so that we can continue to help these youth entrepreneurs thrive. So follow me for more information about those events and more.
I love all parts of this, all parts. And Pamela knows that I am frequently in Richmond, so I'm going to have to come check you out. I will put all the social media handles and links in the comments so that you all can get in touch with Pamela directly. I want to thank Pamela for joining us today. I also want to give a shout out to all the authors that have joined our community of readers for the month of March 2023. Look out for the summer reading list. It'll be coming in the coming months, and you'll see all of the books that have been read in March on that list. I encourage you to support these authors. I encourage you to support their various ventures. And I also encourage you to remember to focus on what makes you similar to other people, not what makes you different. And so with that being said, it's been wonderful being back in the virtual reading space with you. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.